Just finished a pretty awesome run. Great way to get the morning started. I started running a couple miles every morning. Really gets me in the headspace for work and sales and all of that. But recently I've been experiencing like a wave of sadness, I guess. It's just perfectly normal. It did catch me by surprise a little bit, because I had dealt with a lot of emotions with the breakup at the beginning, and then I went through a wave of anger after the first month, just feeling mad and resentful. And now I've just been feeling not a heavy sadness, but I've been having like recurring dreams, which kind of sucks because you can't get away from it. You can't really control that at all. I've been having recurring dreams, mostly just my mind flooding with memories, flooding with scenarios the dream puts me in where it's just a normal day and we're still together, and it sucks because it's like torment, kind of. It's like your brain teasing you, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just because part of your brain still thinks you're together. So once those initial like protections are done, those walls your mind puts up when something traumatic happens to kind of protect you. Once that kind of wears off and your brain feels like you're not under threat anymore, I wonder if parts of your subconscious still think you're together and don't realize fully. So maybe that's what it is, but I've been going through that, and it sucks because every morning I wake up, it's like that's the first thing that's on my mind, and it's kind of a terrible way to start, but running has really helped. Not that it's, I used to work out and run and all of that out of anger and out of, I guess, trying to like run from problems and just mask the pain. But recently, it's just been really purely an act of discipline, just making myself run every morning. I don't have to feel angry, I don't have to feel happy, I don't have to feel anything. I just do it. And the route that I run has a lot of hills, and the whole like last like half of a mile is just straight uphill, and it's brutal because it's at the end of the run and you're already tired. You've already finished most of the run, and now you have to end on the hardest part. And that's always where I'm able to kind of build up this strength that I carry throughout the rest of the day. And that's a really awesome thing, to do something difficult every single morning. Something you can do, but something that's still hard. And once you accomplish that in the morning, the rest of the day you have that confidence. And you know that you already did something really difficult. So yeah, I've been doing that for probably like the last month. There's some days I miss, just because I have to give my body rest from jiu-jitsu, from wrestling. There's a lot of really strenuous physical activities I've been doing recently, so just trying to watch out for my body on that. But my rule is to never take more than 2 days off in a row. So I've been doing that, I'd say at least 4 to 5 days a week, and it's been extremely helpful in just reinforcing my confidence in myself, reinforcing just a level of strength I'm able to carry throughout everything. And yeah, it's been pretty awesome. And after I finish the run, I always sit outside and just meditate for however long, sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. And I try to just calm my mind, and I start everything with just a process of letting go, because I have so much built up mentally, and there's a lot of things that could stress me out right now. A lot of things kind of just creeping in the back of my mind. So my first step is to always just, after I finish the run, I just sit outside. It might sound kind of weird, but I sit on rocks. I sit on my knees on some rocks, and I purposely try to make it really uncomfortable, so if I can let go of that immediate physical pain sitting on the rocks and let my mind be at ease with that, then it's like the mental aspect is actually easier. So, I'm experiencing this. I just finished a run, so I'm already tired. I'm already kind of in pain from that. And then I'm sitting on rocks on my knees, and it's really, really painful. And it's uneven. So, one leg might be hurting more than the other. And I have to deal with that first. I have to get over that, be comfortable with that. And once I can kind of let go of that pain a little bit, then I start turning my mind towards the mental things that could be stressing me out. And once I let go of all of that, I feel this wave. It's like a very physical wave of just bliss, just pure bliss. And I feel so light afterwards. And then once I'm in that state, I try to turn my mind towards just visualizing the future, visualizing how my day is going to go, visualizing what I'm going to do over the next week, what I'm going to do over this year, visualizing all of my goals. So I'm in a much better headspace to kind of, lock that into my mind. And that's been our whole morning routine. It takes, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour, but it's been awesome. And it's not complicated. It's very simple. I'll do some like push-ups before I go run. After having the shoulder injury from jiu-jitsu a couple years ago, I really haven't been able to do push-ups that much. But recently, I don't know what it is, but I've been able to do push-ups again. And I've been able to do like 20. So I started doing 20. I built my way up from like 5 to 10 because my shoulder was still really rough like a month ago. But I built my way up to like 20 every morning, and my shoulder feels pretty awesome. It still like pops and clicks, but I don't know what's going on with it, because I would work out and I would do physical therapy and I would try to rehabilitate as much as I could for the last couple years. I guess I kind of got lax on it last year, but the first year I definitely was doing a lot, and it just never got better. And I tried to do push-ups over the last year, and I would build up to maybe like 10 or 15, but then it would just start hurting, and it would just never, that pain would never go away. It'd just get worse and worse, so I'd have to stop. But that's not going on now. That's awesome. And I'm wrestling a lot more in jiu-jitsu. I kind of avoided that for a while just because of my shoulder, but now I'm going hard, having some really, really intense wrestling matches, wrestling exchanges, and it's got me really, 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 really hyped up. And we're actually going to have a competition. A couple guys from my gym are going to have a tournament tomorrow, so I'm going to go up there and support them and hang out with them. And it's really, really awesome after kind of losing that community from jiu-jitsu the last couple years. It's really awesome to get that back with a whole new set of people. I'm really, really, really grateful for that. And I also started doing boxing and kickboxing, which I've wanted to do for years. So finally doing that. I'm excited to incorporate that into my jiu-jitsu and wrestling. So, it's been a long time coming. I've been putting off so many things, so many goals that I set for myself when, I don't know, since like 4 years ago. I set a lot of goals like 4 years ago, before me and my ex got together. It was right around the time that we first started talking to each other, and I was really motivated to do all those goals, and I was actively working on them when we first got together. But I think between my shoulder injury and between the financial side of things, of us getting an apartment, living together, having to pay bills, just all of that got sidelined. And it got sidelined a lot more than I realized. And I'm starting to see it now with all the things I'm starting to pick back up. I started drawing a lot more. I started practicing piano on like a daily basis. I started learning jazz piano, which I've wanted to do for years. So, yeah. I lost the thing that took up most of my headspace. I truly did think about her more than anything else for 4 years. She was the primary thing in my mind on a daily basis. I was always thinking about her, always thinking about, even if I wasn't thinking about her immediately, I was thinking about how I could be a better partner to her, how I could be a better provider, how I could be a better source of security, how I could be better to her, and how I could start working on making myself a person who would be a great father to our children. And that was truly what consumed my entire life. I thought about that probably 90% of my waking hours. That was all that was going through my head. That was my motivation for everything I was doing. And those are all righteous and admirable goals and motivations. But it's weird because I guess I was spending so much time on a future that didn't yet exist. And I was neglecting myself and who I was in that moment. And that sounds kind of, maybe that's a little contradictory, because I was working on myself, trying to make myself better for the future, but I was always focused on the next day. I was always focused on the next year. I was always focused on doing everything now it's like if you're making a lot of money and all you do is save, all you do is invest. Those are great things. You should save and you should invest. But the whole reason you have money, the whole reason you make money is to enhance your life and to enjoy your life. And if you live 80 years and you could sacrifice 60 of those years, and those be pretty bad years, you could sacrifice those to have a great last 20 years of your life. I don't think that's a fair trade. I think that would suck. You just wasted the best years of your life not enjoying it so that you could enjoy the worst years of your life. When you're older, you're more tired, you have less life in you, you have less motivation. And that's kind of the system we have. And I've interacted with a lot of people recently who are older, and they're either already retired or they're thinking about retirement. And I've seen that from a lot of them, that they're just panicked and they're more stressed about retiring than they are excited. And it's like, you just spent 60 years of your life working just to be miserable. And none of that money is going to mean anything. It's nice to not have to worry about bills and not be stressed out in your later years, but that's not everything. You sacrificed relationships with people that could have lasted until the day you die. You sacrificed maybe your relationship with your kids, your relationship with your partner. You sacrificed everything just so you could have enough money to live comfortably. And I guess that's a mistake I made personally in this relationship. Was I was so focused on securing the future, and there were legitimate things that I was doing that I don't think were bad at all. In 2026, in 2025, everybody knows the economy's rough. Things are expensive as hell. Living expenses are ridiculous. And so I was preparing for a lot of, economic difficulty. That was very relevant to the time I was working on that. And so there's nothing wrong with that. And if I hadn't have done that, we would have struggled a lot financially. And we would have been really stressed, and that would have taken a toll on our relationship. I would say, though, I could have, once I built up a decent amount of savings, I could have definitely, focused more on the relationship. And that's something I was actively changing my mindset to do. And that was something in our last conversation we had in person a week before she broke up with me. That was something she mentioned, and that was something I was listening to everything she was saying. I agreed with her, and I promised her that I would start focusing on the relationship more. And I even told her that, like, you know, I've been focusing on the financial side and working so much so we can have the stability, so you can have this free time and do the things you want to do jiu-jitsu more, spend more time with your friends, have more freedom with building your career so you don't have to make as much money right away. You can defer that and actually choose a career you want. But I was like, we have that now. We have a decent amount of savings, so I agree with you. I do need to spend more time on the romantic side of the relationship. I do need to spend more focus on you. I do need to spend more time planning dates. And that was something I was working on. I wrote it down. I texted it to myself as a reminder. I started spending my free time at work, planning dates, figuring out how I can shift my mindset from working to maintaining what I had worked for and changing my focus more towards her and towards our relationship now. But, you know, she had already engaged in activities by that point. She had already made her mind up. That was one of those things she was saying, just so she didn't have to break up with me then and there, for whatever her reason was. Maybe she didn't have the stomach to. Maybe she was just trying to wait until the lease was over. I don't know. I don't know what her motivations were, but I know she already had her mind made up at that point. But that doesn't take away from the fact that, you know, those were valid feelings on her part. And that's why that was something I acknowledged and was actively going to change and actively was changing. It sucked because because of my work schedule, I worked 60 hours that week. So I didn't have any time literally to actually plan a date, but I was actually planning a date that weekend. Would have been the 2 days after she broke up with me. So, yeah. But I think that goes to show that while her problems with me were that specific problem, that was very valid. That was valid. And I don't regret doing what I did, because again, that was something I needed to do. I've grown up my entire life dealing with financial instability, with my parents being stressed about money, with us not even having enough food to eat some days. Like, there would be some days we literally just couldn't afford to really eat. So that really, when you experience that throughout your childhood, that really sticks in your mindset going into adulthood. And that was something I've understood, and she never really understood because she never had to worry about those things. So I don't think I did wrong with focusing on making money and saving and investing and building for our future. That being said, if that was something I did forever, then yeah, that would be a problem. And I'd be entirely neglecting the current moment for a future that doesn't even exist yet. And you have to have a balance there. And that's a balance I was working on implementing. But that just goes to show that I was doing it with the wrong person. You know, if you're not willing to stick with somebody through the difficult times, then you don't deserve to be with them through the easy times. And I don't say difficult as in like them being abusive to you or them just being a bad person. I mean difficult as in you might have a year or two where you guys are struggling financially, especially if you have kids. If you have kids, you know, I believe as a man you should be working more before your woman has to work more. That's just what I believe as far as a job goes. If things are so bad that you both have to be working, so be it. But you should be working more first before you make her work more, before she has to work more hours. And that's something I held to, that's something I did, and that's not something that she respected, that's not something she understood the value of or understood the sacrifice that I put into it. And you're gonna have a couple, maybe several years where that's the case. And that doesn't mean the person doesn't love you. It doesn't mean they literally are doing it for you. They're literally doing it because they care so much about you. That, like, if I had a choice between working 60 hours in a warehouse job or spending time with her, and I had enough money, I didn't have to worry about anything, of course I would spend the time with her. Of course I would. I loved her so much. She was my favorite person. I had a genuine friendship with her. Of course I would have rather spent the time with her. That's why I was with her and not with anybody else. So it sucked for me on a daily basis being at the job for 12 hours, having an hour-long commute both ways. It sucked. It was miserable. And a big reason why it was miserable is because I couldn't spend that time with her. Like, that sucked for me. And I wanted to spend that time with her. And once we got to a place financially where I could kind of relax a little bit, and I'm not talking about like we were rich, I'm talking about like we had several thousand saved up and now we have enough for like an emergency and to pay rent and to find a new place in a panic if we needed to. Because we lived in like a somewhat sketchy apartment complex. So in my mind, I was like, well, we need to have enough money in case like there were a couple of lockdowns on the apartment complex because there was an armed and dangerous person roaming around, and they would have the police like, you know, going on the street with their like spotlights, like, you know, the police car lit up, just like on a manhunt. That happened like 2 or 3 times while we were there. So, and that's what happens when you get the cheapest thing in the area, because that was all we could afford. So because I loved her so much, I was like, if we need to get out and move apartment complexes and break the lease for our safety, we need to have enough money to be able to do that, to break the lease, to set up a new, you know, first and last month rent, deposit, all of those upfront expenses. We need to have enough money to do that and still cover another emergency. So we need to have like several $1,000s. That's not a lot, but that's enough to cover like a period of a couple back-to-back emergencies. And so that's what I did. I hustled. I worked my ass off until we could get that. And once we got that, then I was like, okay, yeah, I completely understand. Now I need to focus. Now that I got what I was trying to achieve for both of us, we have that security. Now I will focus my energy, take it away from work, and put it more towards you and towards us. And yeah, it's just, you know, I don't need to keep talking in circles about it or rant anymore about it, but all of that just goes to show that I was with the wrong person. And that sucks to say because I spent so much time. But, yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's, I feel protected in a way. And I was just thinking about this, yesterday. how if I really stop and think about it, like in these last couple months, I have rekindled a bunch of old friendships. I've been spending so much more time with friends that I have had that I just wasn't spending time with, friends that I haven't seen in years. I got my first monthly bookkeeping client, and I got a big bookkeeping cleanup job. So I'm actually starting to get some income from my business. I got a whole new job in a completely different industry, with the potential to make a lot of money. At the very least, it's giving me really valuable skills for anything else I would want to do. I'm training jiu-jitsu a lot more. I'm doing art, music, learning jazz, piano, things I've wanted to do for years, kickboxing. So, in my parents, I've been spending more time with my parents and just going over to their house and just hanging out and talking with them, taking my dogs on a walk with them, like talking to my brother a lot more. So in every single aspect, my life has improved dramatically. And so I was doing this thought experiment with myself yesterday, where if I could go to myself 6 months ago, when I was still in the relationship with her, and I could show myself 6 months ago all of the things that I have now and where I'll be 6 months from now if I keep this trajectory. And if I were to lay all those things out on the table and say, you can have all of this, but the price you have to pay is you have to lose her, would you do that? And legitimately, when I did that thought experiment, my answer was no. No, I wouldn't. Because she meant so much to me that I would rather have her and sacrifice everything else. Because I got so much happiness and fulfillment, and was so driven towards a future with her, getting married, eventually having kids. And so I was so caught up in that I legitimately, if you showed me all the things that I have now and the things that I'm working towards, and if you gave those to me as an option, said you can have this but you have to give her up, I would have said no. And so I wouldn't have made that choice. And I think truly I'm in a much better spot, and I'm heading towards a much better spot than if we had stayed together. So I think I was bailed out. That's the way I see it. I think a higher power with more knowledge than me was watching over me and was protecting me from a situation that I wouldn't have gotten myself out of. And I feel I wasn't going to do it, and there were too many things that I was going to miss out on, and so something intervened and saved me from that. And that's what I believe. And I feel tremendously grateful from that. I feel so grateful, because I never would have done that. And I had to lose something extremely valuable to me to get something even better. And I don't even know all of what that is yet. I can kind of see it a little bit, and I can kind of feel what's on the horizon, but I am very, very excited to see where all this stuff is going to take me. And I'm just along for the ride. I'm excited to keep connecting with friends, keep building community, keep making new friends, forming business relationships with people, learning skills I wouldn't have learned a few months ago. There's so many things that are on the horizon for me, and I'm extremely excited for that. And I do still feel sad, and I know that sadness is natural, and it's now that the shock is worn off, my mind and my physical body are having to kind of purge that emotional connection that I had with somebody that was extremely meaningful. And it took up so much of my identity and so much of my fulfillment and happiness that, of course, it's going to be a process to kind of get that out and cleanse my body of that. So it's going to be a process. It doesn't mean, the sadness doesn't mean I'm regretful. The sadness doesn't mean that I wish things could have been different. It's just a natural biological process, and I'm just going to keep dealing with it until it slowly starts to fade and then completely goes away. So, yeah, very excited. If you're watching this, I hope you have an amazing, beautiful day. And if you're going through a breakup, just know that it opens up so many potentials and so many opportunities for you. And don't neglect the emotions that you're feeling. Make yourself feel those emotions. Let yourself feel the emotions, and don't try to push it down. Do it when you're alone. Do it if you have to. Do it with a very small group of people, if you can. Don't do it. Don't put that off onto random people. Don't put it off onto people you work with, or don't rant about it. Don't talk bad about the person. You know, no matter what they did, don't talk bad about them. There's a difference between being honest and kind of venting your emotions versus just trying to slander the person's name and, you know, pour dirt on their image and all of that. Like that just doesn't do good for, that doesn't do good for you. And, you know, fuck what they deserve, but it's not good for either of you to do that. It's not good for anybody. So, yeah. The emotions are normal. You're gonna have to get through it. But if you can manage it properly, and you can go through that process, you'll come out the other side so much better. So connect with people. Don't neglect your friendships. If you're still in a relationship right now, don't neglect your friendships. Start building those back up if you lost any of them. You need that. Start working on yourself. Start working on your hobbies. And if work doesn't allow you to do that, if your relationship doesn't allow you to do that, start reorganizing things, because that stuff is what really matters. That's the stuff that's going to last for the rest of your life. So don't ever neglect that for things that don't mean as much. Yeah. That's all I got. Hope you have a great day.